Do you just feel like there is no air left to breathe? Do you
Welcome back to the Les Lounge. We've been here for a little while.
Yes.
So welcome to part C of the Les Lounge. Where we left off was, your relationship with Renee up until this point, this explosive kiss, has been platonic, but you knew it was going somewhere, and it was going somewhere important. And you're not putting that back.
Right.
You're not going to put it away.
No.
Okay. But you still have this other relationship that you have to deal with. And I hope you don't mind me using this phrase that you've used to describe this as the year of hell.
Yes.
So this episode is entitled The Year of Hell, or at least the first part of our episode is.
Yeah.
So you have this wonderful time together. It was well planned. It was more than you had expected. What's next?
Well, we had the most mind-bending connection that I've ever had. I've described this to you. And then it's like, how do you reconcile what's back home? And I really grappled with that. What is next? What is this? And I couldn't come up with anything else besides this is the greatest love of my life. And back home is a marriage that needs to end. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that. Because that relationship was one where I was not at all strong. I was very much directed in that relationship. Very different than I was in my career, which was assertive and, powerful and aggressive. And at home, it was very different. And so it was like having a foot in two worlds. And Joanne Fleischer talks about that in her book, in love with, married to a man and in love with a woman. And it was very challenging for me. And going back there was like just the biggest like drain of energy when I had such life force with her, going back to that house, and a house that I loved, but the relationship that I didn't.
Obviously, you could be who you were with Renee.
Absolutely.
And you're going back to somebody who you don't recognize anymore, yourself.
Yeah. And I struggled with that. I lamented, what does this mean? The what is, you're with Renee. It was the most profound experience of your life. What does this mean for you? Does this mean that you're gay? I went right there. Are you gay? And what does this mean? Are you just in love with this woman? And so I really bargained. I bargained every single day around that topic, because there was no way in hell that I am gay. Just like, I'm not going to put that label on. So I'm really still very much kind of label averse. I am an out person. I live my life that way. But it was very challenging to, wear the big L lesbian sweater and all of that. It was not something that I was going to be doing.
There are a lot of people in our audience who are going to understand that. There are probably people in our audience who are going to be upset with that.
Yeah.
But I want to put it out there. When you have grown up in the environment that you grew up when every single word that's associated with the gay community is a bad word, it's not easy to turn around and embrace that for yourself.
Right.
And I think we find ways to not even need it.
Yeah, I don't. I don't mind it. I've come to terms with it, and that may be challenging for some people to hear. It doesn't matter what anyone thinks about what is going on in my body and my life. I am out and proud as can be. And I was in a relationship that my ex was convinced that I was going through hormonal changes and that this too shall pass. I got the whole speech on menopause creates same-sex attraction, and this is just a phase.
Did you get this from him?
Yes.
Okay.
So I got that. And I got a lot of God talk from him. You know, the whole thing. It was like I was living just like I was living two lives, and it was
Yeah,
just
so true.
It was so true. Yeah.
We're going to talk about Joanne Fleischer.
Yeah.
So we'll give her another plug.
Mm-hmm.
Living two lives, married to a man but in love with a woman. I think that's pretty close. If anybody Googled that, they'd be able to find it.
Yeah.
And I do want to spend some time on that a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to go away from this year of hell, because it sounds to me like was he trying to convince you to let her go? Was he trying to convince you were crazy?
He was absolutely convinced that this wasn't the woman he married. He never saw any evidence of it. He was diabolical in his pursuit of getting me out of this relationship. He did everything in his power to separate us. He even put a password tracker on my laptop, because, you know, when you're in love with someone else and in a relationship, you're going to act differently. So I was acting differently, right? I wasn't interested in anything he was doing, and he knew some things were amiss. So he put some things on my laptop and hacked into my email, found out about our relationship. And these were intimate emails that he was reading. And so the act of violence against us was so traumatic as a couple. You know, it was something that a lot of people would not survive. And I am so grateful that, you know, she stuck in there with me through this year of hell. And it wasn't just 1 year of hell, it was multiple years.
And it wasn't just you going through it.
No. And, you know, and I'm not the only person that has had this experience, straight or gay.
Yeah,
you know, a lot of people in relationships react the same way when they find out that the person they're married to is having an affair. So that part isn't new or fresh. But the challenge that I had was his pursuit of keeping me when I was so legitimately, you know, happy and fulfilled in another place. Why would you want to hold on to someone who doesn't want to be with you?
I think that, well, that's one it's hard for a lot of people to wrap their head around. How can you say you love me and you want to keep me and be so cruel to me?
Yeah, you want to hurt me. He actually, I said, read these emails and threatened to out me to my family. I wasn't home. I was visiting my family at the time. Well, I got the call. I've read everything. I know everything. I'm going to take all your money and I'm going to out you to your family. And I'm getting this call standing inside a Macy's department store. And I am shaking. I am about to collapse in this department store. So I get my sister, we go into a food court, and I tell her everything that's happening, because there's no way that anyone else is going to control my story. This is for me to control. And that's when I really dug deep, because I told you I was kind of a passive peacekeeper. I took control of my destiny because he was threatening to out me. And that's the greatest gift that he gave me.
He forced your hand.
He forced it. And thank you very much, because I may not have come out. I don't know. You know, I won't. It's not something for me to contemplate at this point, because I'm out. I'm married and I'm living the life of Riley, as they say. You know, it's wonderful. But he was a total, complete shithead to me.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
that had to happen. You know, with these stories that we share, I think people are surprised when we come forward and say, but he's a good guy. He's a really good guy. I said it. Mala said it.
Yeah.
But obviously we know when people separate and divorce is imminent that some of them aren't good guys.
Yeah. And
that year of hell is something that, well, you know what? I'm just going to say I'm glad he forced your hand. I'm just going to, who cares about what I think? I'm glad he forced your hand. I'm amazed that he thought that he was going to be able to keep you after all that. That kind of like, what kind of dumbass move is that?
Right. Well, he said, if you want a girlfriend, you can have a girlfriend, but don't leave me. I'm like, no, it's not going to work like that.
All right. Has he moved on?
I hope so. At this point, I'm not checking in, and I really don't care.
Okay. Good. Good. I mean, I don't want to wish anybody ill. Well, maybe I do.
Yeah.
But, okay. That's his story. Is there anything else that you were hoping to say about that? About this? I mean...
It took a long time to unravel all of it. And through that process, there was a lot of therapy that I needed, and that as a brand new couple that we needed in order to maintain the strength that we had already established as really best friends. And the perseverance that you have to have in going through that process is really quite astounding. I had to dig so deep. And there were times where the anger and the shame and the questioning and why now were just, not something that I could tolerate in my life.
Did you ever contemplate giving up?
I did. I contemplated. It was too much. I wanted her so badly, but the pain of going through it was just so palpable. And so, it seemed so big and like, why am I doing this? Why am I going through all this? And I had to vision what I wanted with her. I went to Landmark Forum. I did a lot of therapy around that, and I would write Post-it notes. I got into journaling, and I would put Post-it notes all over my little apartment because, of course, I had to move out. And all of it was manifesting the vision that I wanted for this life. And it was just repeating what I knew to be the truth and not letting that other world dictate, my happiness anymore. And I just had to hunker down in that belief. And I really had to believe that this is who I was. I had so many messages. I had extraordinary happiness going on at the same time. It was just the worst pain that I've ever experienced in my life. And I wanted to move into the happiness, into the joy.
Yeah.
But it took all of that resolve. It took all of that to get through it.
I can't, it's hard for me to imagine what it's like to have a foot in the happiness and the hell like that at the same time. I mean, I've been there, but I don't know if I've, the extreme juxtaposition that you were in your emotional life at the time is unique to your story.
Yes.
I mean, I think we've all been there at some point, but the extremity of that seems unique to your story.
And it's I believe it is, and I believe part of that uniqueness is that I didn't grow up in a joyful house. I didn't know what joy was, and I didn't really understand and appreciate happiness. Like, I can look at the blue sky and see so much joy in it. And growing up in the house and the experience I had, joy had to be a lot bigger than that. Joy had to be something that was just like so huge to experience it. And I was busy buying joy. I was busy in my career buying things that would create joy. And once I experienced happiness and love for the first time, then I got busy with it.
Life becomes simpler.
Yes.
When you don't have to buy your joy.
Right. I'm done buying joy.
That's so, that warms my
joy.
heart.
It's not for sale. It's not for sale.
Oh, it's the Beatles song?
Yeah.
Money can't buy you love.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You can't buy love.
Right.
That's a good place to have a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
For our next episode. You had said you went through some therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Joanne was a big part of that therapy.
Right.
She's going to get a big old plug this next section. So join us, I don't know, in a week or so, and you'll see our next episode of the Les Lounge. Thank you, Kristen.
Do you just feel like there is no air left to breathe? Do you just wanna to be left outside the grid? It's all for sure, you didn't know.